All right, we're ready now. My neighbor's having a fiesta right now, so hope she invites me. Anyways, I remember when I first bought my Sony A7S3, which was my first dedicated video camera, right? The camera that I bought specifically for video purposes, even though it was a hybrid camera and before the FX3 came out, I rigged it up. I bought a full cage, small rig cage, and I started just throwing on accessories. I think everybody kind of does that. But then I realized very recently that I was reaching for my 5+ year-old Canon R at least half of the time. And I thought that was kind of strange, right? Because I love my Sony A7S3. And I came to realize it's because I had that cage and all those accessories on there that half the time I really didn't use. And having this bare bones mirrorless camera was just great. I just grabbed it and ran. Started shooting. So now I've stripped down my Sony A7S3 completely. And just having it bare bones like this, I'm able to use my switch pod tripod again. It's not heavy anymore, and I'm using it a lot more often. I know there's pros and cons to having a cage, and if you're a filmmaker that's on a budget, buying whatever camera, whatever mirrorless camera, DSLR camera that you can afford and rigging it makes a lot of sense, especially if you're storytelling, specifically storytelling. But if you're a YouTuber and a social media influencer, whatever, do you really need a cage? And that's the thing. Speaking for myself personally, I found that when I bought a cinema camera, I finally had a camera dedicated to storytelling. I realized that the Sony A7S3, which is a mirrorless camera, which I originally bought it as a companion camera to basically do it all, right? To be that versatile camera. Wasn't very versatile anymore and didn't need all that crap on it. So maybe we all kind of go through this phase initially of buying a cage and rigging things out because, at least for myself, we don't have that cinema camera that we're working towards. And then you realize that the camera that you bought, although it's capable, one of its greatest features is that it's in this small, tiny package, and it packs a huge punch. As soon as I got everything off, I reach for my Sony A7S3 almost every single time. And it's not just cameras. I used to put my microphones in a case and then, organize them in my closet and so forth. I'm bringing everything out right now and I'm making sure they're right in front of me. So I can make a decision real quick on the go and use the gear that I have. So I have my cameras lined up right next to them. I have all my mics, my shotgun mics, my lavalier mics, my whatever. And as I'm reaching for my camera or selecting a specific camera, grab a mic and go, start shooting. And I think that's important. Now, having a cage makes your camera very versatile. There's no question about that. And you can literally turn almost any camera into a storytelling powerhouse. And it also kind of gives you a little bit more credibility with your clients that are looking for more of like a storytelling, thing, where it looks like at least on surface value, you may have a cinema camera, right? But they also add a lot of weight and accessories that you've bought for it over the years. Well, they sort of shrink. I'll give you an example. I have a travel tripod that I love, and I take it everywhere because it's so compact, it's light, it's really easy just to take it out and use it. And that's sort of my philosophy now, is I buy things that I know will be used, that will make it easier to use. And if you don't want to use your gear, then what's the point, right? You're never going to reach for it. But if it's something that you're going to reach for, you're going to use, then you're going to reach for it. Well, that travel tripod has a weight limit. Now, it's rated at some number, and it can handle a Sony A7S3 that's all rigged out with a cage, but it just makes it a lot more difficult, and it's not as robust. So I found myself using my cinema camera tripod, a heavy-duty fluid head tripod for my Sony A7S3, and that alone made me just not want to use it, right? I would reach for my Canon R because it was compact and I can put it on my travel tripod. Likewise, right now I'm using the switch pod. I love the switch pod. I think it's one of the best vlogging tripods out there, if not the best portable tripod out there. Couldn't use the Sony A7S3 on that for sure, because I would have had to change the head, and it just would have been another thing where now I bought this very specific, travel, small, versatile thing, and now I'm converting it to a bigger thing that it's not intended to be, and all because I had a cage. And as time went on, I was taking more things out. I had 2 handles, I had a top handle, I had microphones and lights and all these other stuff. And slowly, one by one, they were just being removed. And eventually, all I really cared about was having an external monitor, sometimes, and a microphone. Usually a lavalier mic, my DJI mic, or a Rode mic. And for talking heads like today, I have my Sony digital mic. And worst case scenario, I would need a monitor and a microphone receiver or a microphone on my camera. But the camera only has one cold shoe, and that's all you get. So I ended up buying a triple cold shoe adapter. And it works great. It's high enough to where you can put a monitor and a microphone on the cold shoes. And I think it's like $15. Currently it's unavailable. I don't know why. I need to buy more of them, but I highly recommend them. And that alone has changed everything for me. And now I have my mirrorless camera back and that versatility, which makes me want to shoot more.